This is the newest lighthouse that I have made for Trainz Railroad Simulator 2019. It's also the first object I've made for this game that is seasonal and will have snow textures in the winter. It is the Boston Lighthouse located on Little Brewster Island in Boston, Massachusetts. I have 4 versions of it, all of which are seasonal. This version uses the auxiliary light. The auxiliary light on the outside of the lighthouse only operates if the main light, which is inside the lantern room, fails to operate for any reason. I have to redo these brick textures though, which I'll definitely fix before I upload it. The Boston Lighthouse is one of the most historic structures in the United States. The original one predates the American Revolution. Sadly, it was destroyed by British troops during the Revolutionary War, but the second lighthouse, which is what this one is a replica of, it still stands today. It was automated in 1999, and it flashes once every 10 seconds, 24 hours a day. The lighthouse is equipped with a second-order Fresnel lens. Carving the windows for this lighthouse was not easy. Every time I did, it messed up the textures and I had to repair the mesh in order to continue. And of course, this is the reason why the auxiliary light is on, because the main lens is not functional. In this version, the lens is damaged and the auxiliary light is functional, and the fog signal is working as well. Just like in real life, the foghorn at the Boston Lighthouse will give off 1 horn blast every 30 seconds. In this version, the auxiliary light is off, the lens is on, and the fog signal is functional. In this version, the auxiliary light is off, the lens is on, and this is basically the plain version. The lens rotates during the day and is on during the day as well, but the beams of light will only appear at night. Here's just trying to get a closer look at the lens. Now I'm going to show you the winter textures. Like I said before, all versions of the lighthouse are seasonal. So during winter, the snow textures will appear. But you have to be above the snow altitude for that to work. Anyway, it takes a while because it's a really big object. Okay. The snow only appears on the buildings that are attached to the lighthouse though, because in general snow usually doesn't appear on top of the lighthouse itself. Except in Michigan, actually. In Michigan, in the Great Lakes, some of the lighthouses actually get covered in a huge sheet of ice during the winter. Which would be pretty interesting to model for this game, probably. Anyway, I also put icicles on the edges of the roof, which is a detail that a lot of people don't put on seasonal textures that I've downloaded in the past. But I thought it would be a nice touch. Though, I'm not really sure if you would see icicles hanging from this lighthouse in real life, since there's actually someone who lives here 24/7 that takes care of it, who probably would have removed those icicles as soon as they appeared. Just 2 miles north of the Boston Lighthouse is the Graves Lighthouse, which is a lighthouse that I'll be modeling in the future, but in the meantime I'll be using this lighthouse as a temporary stand-in. The Graves Lighthouse flashes twice every 12 seconds and uses a VRB 2.5 lens. The fog signal at the Graves Lighthouse gives off 2 horn blasts every 20 seconds. The light at the Graves Lighthouse rotates 24/7, but the light only comes on at night and doesn't even come on in foggy weather. Here's a closer look at the reflective textures I made for the windows. Alright, here's a fixed version of the brick textures. They look a lot better than they did earlier, as you can see. Yeah, you gotta be really careful when making the normal maps. If you make them too deep, it creates a lot of issues. I'm still very much a beginner when it comes to texture, so sometimes I do make mistakes like that with the normal maps. Oh, and here's another example of the reflective textures I made for the windows. I actually made the window textures from scratch.